Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who always speaks with a southern accent when he's defending himself in
Oh
court.
God.
It's Nathan Lahaye.
What's up, man?
I do declare.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that amongst many things
Arthur
about this
Fleck
movie.
trying to be Joker is embarrassing. And
It
that's on
really,
purpose, in purpose,
oh,
right?
yeah,
But just
absolutely.
watching him be like, listen, I'm Arthur, guys. I'm depressed. And
Yeah.
I've been crapped on my whole life. I had abusive parents, all this, and you guys want me to be this thing that I'm not, and I'm gonna try to be it because I got this lady
And
that's
it's the
like
only way
all
I'm being accepted by
that's
her
all.
and you guys and getting attention and the things I've been wanting. Yeah,
So
it's
I'm gonna try.
exactly. And I remember when I first watched the movie and it was, I mean, I think I first watched it like 2 months ago. I was finally like, well, let's see what it's about. I had with a much I'm sure with many other people, and I think you even said it too, like when it came out and initial reviews came out, everyone had super low expectations kind of going into the movie because it really got kind of crapped on. And so, Elise and I, my wife, sat down and we're like, yeah, we'll give it a shot, why not? If we don't like it, we'll turn it off, no big deal. I was flabbergasted with how much I found myself enjoying it. I did not expect that at all. And I remember when I told you, like, hey, do you want to, or I think I told you I watched it and you're like, oh yeah, I just kind of had a humdrum response. And I gave you my reasonings for why I liked it. I was like, this would make an interesting episode because if you have, the two perspectives that, on first watch, yeah, I can see why it, got the reviews it did. And then someone else that was just like, holy crap, here's why. And honestly, on second viewing, I think I liked it even more because there were so many more things that I you could kind of notice and break down. Like the first time you're watching it, you're wondering what's with the musical numbers, why are the opening credits animated, what the hell is going on. And so once you are able to absorb it, watch it a second time, I kind of put reasonings in for why all this stuff was happening. And it made the movie a whole lot better just watching as a whole and watching the entire roller coaster journey for Arthur and just things going on. So yeah, I'm interested to get into this and discuss reasonings and things like that. But I don't know what hit you about the movie that you didn't like initially, because I remember I think I saw your five postings, your five bullet points when you watched the movie, and you're like, I really appreciate that they swung for the fences. Like any movie that does that and just like goes all out, I applaud it. But sometimes, more often than not, it doesn't hit that home run. and
Yeah,
or something
yeah.
along those lines. Is that what you thought was happened with this flick?
Here's the thing. I never I don't hate this movie. So when I went and watched it, it's just kind of wild because I went and saw it. Normally when I go to a screening or go see a movie, like most press screenings are at 7 or so, sometimes I get kind of tired if the movie's 3 hours. But
Yeah.
I went and watched this at 3 p.m. They had a 3 p.m. screening for it. And I was just watching it and I was almost dozing off. It's a movie where I guess there's a couple things. And first, this is gonna sound really weird, but I feel like this movie to me is like a Monte Cristo sandwich from Bennigan's.
Okay.
Okay, so
Waiting for this explanation. Bring
back
it
in
on.
the back in the day, I don't know why I had a really weird thing with Monte Cristo sandwiches. No matter where I was at, I've never enjoyed one. I don't think I've ever finished it, and every time I've ordered it, I've been like, I don't why do I do this? But it's a ham, turkey, cheese, 3 slices of honey wheat bread that is dipped in batter and deep fried to a golden brown. And so the idea of it, I think whenever I'm out, I'm like, well, maybe this one will be good. Maybe this one will be good. And I'm like, all these ingredients are great. We have Todd Phillips back. We have Lady Gaga. Joaquin Phoenix is singing again. He's back in kind of Johnny Cash land. It's a subversion of it. I heard that it's basically, he's kind of making it about the people who enjoyed the incel elements of the first one. And I'm like, wow, this is a $200 million. Brendan Gleeson's in it, like Steve Coogan's in
Oh
it,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Catherine Keener's in it. So I'm like, okay, this. I love these ingredients. And
Hmm.
then I watched it, and it was just like every time I ate a Monte Cristo sandwich, I was like, I don't like this. Like it, but then I went, but then I go back to another restaurant. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try this one. And I'm like, no, I've never finished one, Nathan. It's a really weird explanation to
It
make.
sounds like how I feel every time that I decide to watch X3 again. I was like, you know what? Maybe this time I'll
Yes,
find some
yes.
really good things that I enjoy.
Uh,
And every single time, just like, no, it
and
didn't happen.
No, no, and you know what? That's really funny. It's like Blade Trinity. I'm like, oh, I'll try to watch this again. I'm like, no,
Exactly. Yeah, there's
no.
another one for sure.
But here's the thing. I also think this movie. So the first one, I understood it. Arthur Fleck is not Joker. Spoilers. Arthur Fleck is a very sad man who was let down by the system. His parents abused, and he started taking justice in his own hands. And when he
Hmm.
did that, when he took on that moniker, when he shot De Niro on TV, people rallied around him. They don't care
Hmm.
about him, right? They care about
Absolutely
what the
not.
Joker is. So the first
Yep.
time I watched it, I went, "Oh, okay, I get it." Like he's just a very sad man that people use to rally around. And we've had some of that recently. And I don't really want to get too much into that, but people, they don't care about who that person is. They care about that person on that screen. They and so I went, oh, okay, cool. That I never got it as, yeah, Arthur, you're right, baby. You know, I was like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Arthur.
yeah.
I never said that. I just said this is about a very sad man, and I thought it worked. It was really excellent, and he had, at the end when he's singing and hearing music, and he has that fantasy life with Zazie Beats, and he really gets off his meds, and he kind of loses it.
Hmm.
So you watch Joker 2 Folie Deux, and it's it's just more of that. So I think I think Todd Phillips, like I think he was aiming at the people who love the Arthur character and thought he was right. And this one, there's just more. No, this guy's gonna get shit on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And so I understood the first one. So going into this one, I was like, yeah, you're just telling me everything I learned before. And if you think about it, they bring back Puddles, they bring back Zazie,
Hmm.
they bring back pretty much not everybody from the first one.
The people that they,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
could.
they
That
bring
makes
back,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, and like they bring them back, and guess what they do? They tell you what happened. You meet with a psychiatrist. Oh, this is what you are. Like they do is basically repeat things from the first one. And even though I love the idea of him expressing himself through music, I like the idea of Harley only liking him for Joker. She put the makeup on before she has sex with him. And I
Hmm.
get all that. But I guess also when I went through this again, I just think it's quite self-conscious. Like there are some lines in this. So when I know I'm gonna let you speak eventually, but
How dare you? How dare
that
you railroad this podcast episode?
one thing I've really one thing I've really enjoyed is I talked about this in 2024 in another podcast, and I like talking about like 2024 movies like 6 months later. I like when the dust is settled. I like when my thoughts have settled. I like when I know the box office results. I like when I know what happened to it and I can process it. And so sitting down a second time, there's some dialogue. So Arthur goes to join this music class, and the teacher's like, "You see, we use music in this class to make us whole, to balance the conflicting forces that fracture within ourselves." Because the cartoon's already about his shadow self. He's like, all I
Hmm.
ask is that you sing if you're ready. And then, he's singing for once in my life, I have someone who needs me. And then, the musical. I'm sick of these artificial barriers between the musical and the drama. And that's about a director who's railroading a film, and his cast saves it by making it more mainstream. So it's a lot of Todd Phillips maybe talking about how he's making the movie in this, like the clown with his pants falling down. I mean, like, they mentioned Dream 10 times. He lives in a fantasy. He's like, I
Hmm.
can't do this anymore. I can't be who you want me to be. It was all just a fantasy. We're not going away, Arthur. All we had was a fantasy. So this movie, it doesn't leave anything for the imagination. It's just a sledgehammer. It's like, oh, we use music to make us whole, to balance the conflicting forces in us. It's like, oh gosh. And so it's very obvious, and it's almost self-conscious in a way, in that it tries to explain everything, and it doesn't leave much up for viewers to interpret. And I think Todd Phillips did that because he people interpreted Arthur wrong the first time.
Hmm.
So when you already know that Arthur's a really sad man let down by everything, who loses it and goes on a brutal killing spree, it's just more of the same in this. And my problem is too is the first one had some momentum. This one is I was reading an interview. There's a really great interview, and Lady Gaga explained it like this. So she was saying that when she talked to Todd Phillips, that this movie is a let's see, this movie is a comedy. Wait, there's music, there's dance, it's a drama, it's a courtroom drama, it's a comedy, it's happy, it's sad. And I think when you throw that many ingredients into it, you get a Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
was a very long explanation, but I'm trying to be mature about it, because the one thing I hate is John Waters is an amazing director, and every year he unleashes a top 10, and I read them and I watch the movies. But this one, he's like, yeah, stupid critics. And he's like, all these people who didn't like it. And then Tarantino said, the director joke, like he said, the entire concept, even him spending the studio's money, spend it like the Joker would spend it. And he's just saying F you to everybody. And I think what they're saying, the people didn't like it, were like, I don't understand it. But I understood this movie. And there's a really brilliant article from Todd Phillips that gets in his mindset. And there's videos that get in his mindset. So I'm not trying to be one of those guys that's like, oh, you didn't understand it, or you're just reactively hating it because everyone else did. I just think it's a flawed experience that I still admire to a degree, because I think Phoenix, Phillip, and Gaga got $50 million out of this movie, and they could have gone to England and shot it for 25% less. They shot it in LA. It's just a movie that is it's there are ideas that I really like, but I think it's very self-conscious and not successful.
Okay. I think I hear all that. I think that's a very good way of putting it, that, maybe they recycled a lot of the things, or they spelled it out and didn't leave much for the imagination, which is something that I'm sure a lot of people want with the Joker, just the chaos and unpredictability of it. And I think that, the way that the movie was kind of set up in the trailers and things like that, it gave you that unknown element. And I think everyone with the Joker, especially after the first one where they got the story of Arthur and being sad, and then he goes to, his enact his vengeance, maybe similar to was it Falling Down, uh where he's just had enough
Yeah,
and
or
fed up
Taxi
with it and
Driver,
or Taxi
King of
Driver,
Comedy.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of people were expecting, especially with the introduction of Harley, that he was going to somehow get out and they were going to it was going to be anarchy overall and doing this stuff, and it wasn't. It was very much just kind of a character study of Arthur, whether it was spelled out or not, and the reasoning of like why he was how he was. I thought it was interesting, and like kind of the same thing where if you go into it expecting one thing and all of a sudden it shifts gears really hard, whether it's with the animation at the beginning or the first musical number. It's kind of the same thing with Scott Pilgrim. Like people go in there like, oh, it's going to be a funny movie where people fighting, and then that first musical number hits with Matthew Patel, and you're just like, what is going on? I think with Scott Pilgrim, it was a comedy, so it was okay, and they could just kind of be goofy and silly with it. And with this, it was trying to be, well, it was very serious, right? It was serious material, and it was, delving into mental illness and all that stuff. And I think people just wanted anarchy, you
Yeah,
know?
no, I agree. And I guess speaking for myself, that always bothers me when there's a couple things that bother me with movie criticism is when people don't like a movie because it's not what they wanted it to be. Like first and foremost, like this movie wasn't made for you, and
Mhm.
for you not to like it because it wasn't made for you really annoys me. So when people are like, "That's not my Joker," I'm like,
And that's why nerds are the worst.
"Yeah,
Like, I mean, even
very
like what the
entitled."
the Fantastic Four trailer just came out, and people were already bitching. Ben doesn't look
Yeah,
big enough. I was like, oh my
and
god.
and I want to preface this. Nathan and I met at Comic Cons. We worked
Yes,
together in comic. You
absolutely.
still work at Comic Cons. You are a gigantic
Oh, I
comic
worked with,
fan.
yeah, I was
Uh,
helping Greg Horn for a decade. I dealt with all the nerd rage,
yeah,
both helping him out at his store and in person at cons.
I mean, you
Absolutely,
and I
nerds
have
are the
dealt with
absolute worst.
the stars, the artists. We've dealt with
Yeah,
the fans,
yeah,
but like we're fans too, though. But
absolutely.
you know what? For me, though, there's 7,000 Batman that have been created. So for you to say that's not my Batman, it's like, well, which Batman is yours?
Yeah,
Which Joker
or
is yours? And so,
the Snyderverse people that are so hardcore and all this stuff. I freaking hated Batman versus Superman, but it was part of the thing. It's the Monte Carlo. They put too much
yeah,
stuff into it, and they didn't have enough time to let you appreciate or digest or divulge or just like go into detail with all this stuff.
we should do
You
Monte
know,
Cristo movies. Like
I
that's
mean,
another.
there you
That's a no,
go.
but that's another Monte Cristo.
Now,
And
is
Sucker
the
Punch
Count
is
of Monte
another one.
Cristo a Monte Cristo movie? I think that's
Um,
the biggest.
no,
It's not.
actually, I like those. So if I think if Todd Phillips or Zack Snyder made a Count of Monte Cristo, it'd be a Monte Cristo movie.
Oh, absolutely.
But
Yeah,
it's
man.
it's and also too, I think you're right. This movie didn't lean into, and let's get straight at it. The reason why the Joker 2019 works so well is it's Taxi Driver and King of Comedy. It's essentially a remake. It's
Hmm.
it's a sneaky rebootquel
Hmm.
almost. and it follows
Say
a.
that one more time because I love that. We need to put that on a shirt. It was
Oh
a
no.
reboot cool.
Oh yeah, so
Is
that's
that
the
what you
thing.
said?
Yeah, that's the thing that they've been saying for years where
Oh, that's awesome.
like
I love it.
Jurassic World is a rebootquel. Creed is a rebootquel. Force Awakens was a rebootquel. Scream
Oh my
6
god.
was a
I was gonna
rebootquel.
say, are all the Scream movies rebootfuls?
Yeah.
Oh
And
my god,
so
that's awesome. I love
this
it.
like so it was essentially that. This one didn't have that very, and also the Joker had a very easy narrative to follow because people knew the narrative from other movies.
Yeah.
This one really, what's interesting too is it doesn't have that propulsion. And what's interesting is it brings Gaga in, and she only gets one scene where she's belting out songs, and then Joaquin Phoenix gets jealous because she's stealing the show and it's in his fantasy. But
Hmm.
it's a movie. She gets sidelined pretty early on. Then she just sort of shows up and it's like, yeah, I lied, whatever, I'm rich, I turned myself in, and I'm just into you, and here, put this makeup on, like, don't be this weird skinny guy, be this dude. and and I think people definitely probably thought that this might be a Busby Berkeley musical, that there might be big productions. And even Todd Phillips, he said this is not a musical. He said that. He's like, I don't think of this a musical. He struggles with the idea of labeling Joker Folie do a musical. And so he doesn't know how to categorize it. And I think that's why it doesn't quite work, because the director doesn't know what it is. And I think the best movies are the ones where the director can understand it from the core. I
Hmm.
think, and also while reading this interview, like Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. said that Todd Phillips loves to gamble. He's like all in. So he made this movie. They were talking about making this into a Broadway play, but it takes like 4 to 6 years to get that going. And Joaquin Phoenix didn't want to spend his time on that. So then they turned it into a musical, but then they turned it into a musical where they sing off pitch because neither one of them could really belt it out. And in his dreams, like, he's not a great singer. In his fantasy, Arthur can't even be a great singer. Like, he
Hmm.
croaked songs out, and it's all well and good. And I understand the idea. And when Phillips talks about it, he's very eloquent. He has an Esquire video, I believe, where he's very eloquent in the decisions he made for this. But I just don't think he had a handle on it. Like, he can't even explain his movie, which, like, he's like, yeah, I don't think it's really a musical. It's not this, it's not that. So I think I think he got paid a lot to make this. I think he cared deeply about it. I mean, every song goes along with what Arthur's feeling. I mean, they
Hmm.
really cherry picked some really good movies for this. It's just
Yeah.
not something that it works, right?
Yeah.
So,
I
but I like the ideas. Going back to Monte Cristo, I like it. I like the ingredients.
hmm
I just don't think they come together well for me.
and that's one thing after I started or once I finished watching it and I was talking to friends about it, and I was like, did you guys watch it? What do you think? And the majority of responses I got were, well, I don't like musicals. And but it's a good conversation to start because
Yeah.
I don't consider it a musical, but it's like there are musical elements, right? And I think I was asking people, I was like, okay, Scott Pilgrim has musical elements, is that a musical? That Thing You Do has musical elements, is that a musical? Like, there are things, and it happens a lot, so it like treads that line. But I think it's funny because the majority of musical numbers that are in that, probably about 80-85%, are all fantasy based, right? They're all in Arthur's head. Like you said, he does it in ways to cope with emotions or things that's
Yeah.
going on. During the Sunny Cher scene where she starts stealing things, that's right after he learned that she lied to him, so he felt betrayed, and like he just like that's how he played it in his head. Or so that was that. But every time there's like a singing number in reality, it's not super like choreographed or anything. Yes, they're singing, but like even when they're escaping, they're just like walking or trying to climb the cage. There's no like, in a musical, there's going to be music, there's going to be singing, there's going to be dancing, and it's all like all at the same time, and it's clearly a big, musical like something. When the times that they're in it, like in the interview when he starts singing, he's just singing. When he has
Yeah.
his first thing going through and is like, how's it make you feel, Arthur? And he's going around and he's just singing, and he has his own like goofy Arthur stuff, but
He
it's
leans his head
not.
back a lot.
He does. That's the go-to Joaquin Phoenix Joker pose with the cigarette smoke. Of course, you have to have the natural fog machine
So
in
many
there.
people smoked cigarettes in movies this year.
So many
A
people.
lot of
There's
casual drug
a
use
new
too.
article. How much? How many cigarettes in total? how long for these characters to get lung cancer, based on, and there you go, you can put that in the tomatometer too, and see if it's like the Tom Cruise, the more things they smoke, is it have a better rating. But yeah, it was, I had a lot of interesting conversations with people like, I don't like musicals. I was like, it's really not, like, it treads the line 1000%, and arguments can really be made either way. But I think it just lacks certain elements that make it like a true blue musical. But on this last viewing, when I watched it, I did kind of realize that that is, that's his coping mechanism. Exactly like you said, that's his delusions, that's his fantasy. That every time he's trying to deal with something big that's happening. That first time that he sang, he just learned that they were aiming for the death penalty, but he had also just met Harley, so there was that conflict there, and he started singing, and it was a fantasy, and that, and it actually happened. Going through all the other things, there were big things that had happened. Even at the very end, once he gets, sorry, spoiler alert, guys, watch the movie first before listening to the podcast. When he gets shanked, there's that musical number at the end, and that's him like dealing with the fact that he's dying. I really enjoyed that there was that it showed that, again, character study for me. It just showed that it was something different than you would expect from the Joker. And even just the brief things about once he leaves the courtroom as Joker that first time, once the guy is singing when the saint comes marching in, he gets choked out by Gleason, all that stuff, and he's sitting there, and the next either fantasy or flashback he had is when Joker was washing off the makeup, and that was, can be correlated to when Arthur was done. He couldn't do it anymore. The Joker, all it does is bring death either to those he thinks that deserve it, or the people that are even sticking up for him.
Yeah.
Right. But I will say, watching it a couple more times, my biggest gripe that I couldn't quite 100% pinpoint, which is very clearly laid out in comics or cartoons or other instances of the character, is with Harley. Why, like, other than the fact that she was, crazy herself or whatever, why was she putting all this effort into the Joker, right? In the comics, in the Batman animated series cartoon, she got Stockholm syndrome 1000%.
Mm-hmm.
She was Joker's psychiatrist, Arkham psychiatrist, had the master's degree, all this stuff, and she just got hoodwinked by the Joker and then got turned into Harley Quinn, and kind of fell into his own madness. But for this one, I was like, okay, it happened. Shot him on TV. There's the whole thing about, like, I was watching it and I was just like, man, I wish you'd blow his brains out. And then he did. And then she had to feel like she had to check herself in to meet him and lie to him and manipulate him and do all these things. But what was like the full end game for her?
I think it's
You know?
there's murder groupies though. I mean, if you think about
Yeah.
every serial killer, every murderer, they get letters. They have people who love them, adore them.
Yeah.
And I think if she only saw him on TV, he exuded an odd confidence. And
Mm-hmm.
so he's just she doesn't want Arthur. She wants
Oh, not
that
at all.
she wants that Joker.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
so even with the recent murders with Luigi, like women were showing up to the court case. There's
Mm-hmm.
a glorious movie called Red Rooms that just came out last year. That's one of the best of 2024 that kind of covers that as well. There's a lot of fascination with true crime. And so I think
Mm-hmm.
this guy represented something that danger. I mean, she's a rich girl with rich parents
Yeah.
who lied. And so I think, but that's never, that's explained later on. Like she's rich. She just want to like get up on you.
But
And
it
it,
never even was like, is she
yeah,
rebelling? Like,
exactly. You
there was
never know.
nothing there. I
And then she
will
gets
say,
lost halfway through it. And then she
yeah,
just starts showing up. Like you completely lose that character. And
yeah, I,
that there's two things I think would make a great movie. Imagine if he escaped and he's just trying to please this woman. Like he's trying
mhm.
to do this, but he's not Joker, right?
Knowing
He's
it
not
goes
that.
against who he, yeah,
And
absolutely.
that would have been really interesting. And also this talk about shadow selves, where and the only way that I've connected with this, like the idea that I connect with, is like once she sees him as a human, she's like, nah,
Oh,
right? Because she
absolutely.
wants that fantasy. That's an interesting concept where he's just a mentally broken man, but people want him to be this. They want him to be that. And once they learned who he was, I think they would just toss him aside and keep using something else as like just his symbol to go
Hmm.
cause havoc.
Yeah,
And that's really interesting when she says to him it was just a fantasy. And she sneaks in a thing and puts makeup on him because she's like, I want you to be this guy, not that guy.
yeah.
It's a really interesting dynamic, but it's you don't know anything about Harley. And
Hmm.
I mean, all Arthur Fleck is just knocked around for the longest period of time. and it definitely, that's why I say this movie has good ideas, but they're not baked together well. And
Mhm.
when the director can't explain his movie, I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
And but like I do like the idea of the singing off key. I do like the idea of that. I mean, there's one scene where she starts belting out stuff. He's like, "Oh, hey, like this is us." She's like, "No, it's for the audience." But like
Yeah.
that's explaining it too. This movie is like there's a lot of telling, not showing.
And I think it's also goes into like that it's Arthur's fantasy. That's how what me he maybe he thinks sounds good,
Yeah.
or he's not going to be that good. It's almost the Spider-Man 3 Peter Parker stuff. Like people got so upset about his dancing and the emo hair, and I was like, that's what Pete thinks is cool.
That's evil
Like
Peter.
that is exactly. It doesn't have to be the. He's not going to turn into Flash Thompson, Joe Manganiello, suave, cool, doing all stuff. That's what he thinks is cool, and he has the confidence to pull it off. And like so that's what I thought about Arthur
No,
and
you're right. You're
in those
right.
things. But it also makes sense that in those moments where Gaga starts to really go, especially in that gospel number at the end, where like he has any semblance of hope with like they're gonna get married, they're gonna have a baby, all this stuff, and she just starts going and being Gaga. It's because he holds her on that pedestal. He holds her
Yeah.
to that standard. So there's absolutely every reason why she would sound better better than him in that. But yeah, I think one thing like when I went into it that I heard that also lowered the bar coming in and for those expectations, everyone's like, oh, they intentionally sang bad. And I was like, well, they did. I mean, they didn't. I don't think they intentionally sang bad. Like some stuff was like a little off key here and there, but like Joaquin Phoenix, like, can he sing? Sure. Is he a professional singer? No. Are things maybe going to be a little? And is it part of the character? It's like, yeah, I it all made sense to me. I don't think that they were intentionally singing bad, especially Gaga. But
You're gonna hate this though.
oh, bring
So
it on.
he said that Todd Phillips, he wanted to create a rawer, more unstable sound fluctuating between euphoria and despair. And he said even if occasionally the actors purposely sang off key. So
Oh, so
he
he had
had
them
them,
do that.
yeah, he
Oh
had them,
man.
yeah, and
Okay.
he had them perfectly singing off key. Or yeah, occasionally singing off key.
Just enough to okay.
And there are a
All
couple
right.
moments where she starts to belt, but
Mm-hmm.
when that's the only that happens because she's starting to get a lot more attention than him, and he's realizing that they're not a team because remember he goes at her and then she
Mm-hmm.
shoots him. But
Mm-hmm.
it's
Oh yeah.
like that's when she starts to start belt stuff out. But in their initial meetings, she's singing off key, both of them.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, he smoked, Honest Trailer said this, but he smoked about 1 billion cigarettes in his life, Joaquin Phoenix. So, this movie actually reminded me a lot of what is it? I'm not here. I'm not there. Was it? No, I'm not
Oh, was it
walking.
the A24 film?
No, so he did one, the Joaquin Phoenix documentary where he became a rapper. Remember that? And he
Oh
like,
my God. Yeah.
and
I was thinking of something
he
else, but yeah, oh
he
my
basically
God.
destroyed his career, and so did Casey Affleck. It's called I'm Still Here,
I
where
remember that.
he retired from acting. He concentrated as a hip hop musician. He jumped off stage to fight people. The entire time I was watching that documentary, I was like, this is really interesting that you guys did it, but you missed. And
Yeah,
that's fine. I mean, when you throw a shot from half court, you're not always going to hit it.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
you're going to miss more often than you land. But
Mm-hmm.
they missed so catastrophically bad. And Casey Affleck wrecked his career with that because he acted horribly on it, and they just acted horribly. So it's a it's a huge miss. So when I watch
It's a
this,
reverse Borat.
yeah, oh yeah, it was
Like if Sasha Baron Cohen went out and was just like, "Hey, I'm Sasha Baron Cohen," and was a dick to everyone, that could have tanked his career too. But he played a character in it. Joaquin Phoenix, yes, played a character, quote unquote, but he was the character as himself, which is not what you and didn't tell everyone, what the hell was going on. So that'll hurt, man.
that was
Um,
bad. And
yeah,
listen, they're gonna walk away from this just fine. Like
oh yeah,
actually know Joaquin walked away from a movie he was supposed to shoot recently, and he did that with Split too. He left, and I know that James McAvoy, had to join Split like 2 weeks before it started.
I didn't know
Which
that Joaquin was gonna do Split. That would
yeah,
have been an intro. Oh
yeah,
man.
because I mean he's cool with M Night. They've done movies two. That would have been the third film together.
Yeah, yeah, man, what a fun what if story that would have been, a multiverse where Joaquin Phoenix was in that role instead of James McAvoy. Oh man, who do you
And
think would have done it better? I
McAvoy.
mean, it's hard to imagine something better than what James McAvoy gave
Yeah,
us in that friggin' role, man.
just the beast, and you know what I think helped him? He had no time to prepare for it, so he just had to go do it.
I
Like
mean,
I
yeah,
and also M Night is I love Trap. Like I think M Night's probably one of my favorite directors out
I
there.
really enjoyed Trap.
It's a
Like,
great.
and you could even say that, with Shyamalan, he takes a lot of half court shots too for certain
Yes,
things, and they don't
yes.
always go happening. But yeah, I really like Trap. That was a good one.
I think the world needs half court shots,
Oh, absolutely.
but the problem is, like, The Happening did not hit. It- this Joker did not hit. When you, and I think sometimes blank check movies, like both of those films were, Scorsese made Silence, which I like, but no one's going to watch it, and it costs 80 million to make. Like I think when directors go and they have a blank check movie or a half court shot movie, you you better be really smart about it, because more
Mhm.
often than not, I feel like they miss, and we need it. We like I think cinema needs movies like Joker Folie do to just they tried something here, and but you know what's interesting too is the most popular TV shows on the planet in the history of the world are, if you think about the longest running ones, NCIS, CSI,
Mhm.
Cheers, Friends, they sit on a couch or they solve a crime every episode. It's comfort food. It's the same thing over and
You know
over
what
and
to
over again.
expect. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this one drops, and you have Lady Gaga who can just sing beyond anything. The other one made $1 billion, and you basically take this man that people rallied behind, and then just he gets shit on for 2 hours in this film. It's nothing but him getting crapped on. Like
It
when
actually it had me on the edge of my seat for a lot of things because and I was honestly surprised in certain things, like when the guards were being nice to him or doing things. I was like, how are
yeah,
they
but
gonna
then
turn
remember,
this? Oh my God.
and then remember he gets happy and he just gets smacked in the back of the head. Like
Yeah.
whenever he's happy or anything good happens to him, something bad happens to him.
Yeah, I will say that in defense of the guard in that scene where he like gave him a cigarette and they're all laughing and chumming up and he slapped him on the back, like you can't get to like he still killed
Yeah,
five
exactly.
people, a sixth one that people don't know about. You can't get too friendly with those guys in that line of work. You got to make sure to know that they're in their place. I had a buddy Juan who used to work as a corrections officer when I was in college. I went to college in Huntsville, Texas. And they have like 9 separate prison units, and he was a corrections officer for a little bit there, and he would tell me some wild freaking stories, man. And he had many times where inmates would just come up and like challenge the guards. Like he had this one guy come up and basically was like, hey, boss, man, what would you do if I do this to you right now? And you had to be quick on your feet and like learn to put them in their place. And I think he threatened him with like pepper spraying him somewhere that would make his butthole pucker or something. And he was like, all right, boss, man, you cool, man, we good. Like it's just I think it's a similar situation where like, oh, they're getting a little too friendly with you. You got to remind them where they are. But yeah, I was expecting so many more bad things to happen to it. And I'll say this because this is something the first time I watched it, I was like, oh no, this happened. When I watched it the second time, I wasn't so sure. Do you think the guard set him up at the end?
Set him up to be killed.
Yeah.
Well, I know they sexually assaulted him in the
Yeah.
jail, but yeah, at the end, that's a good one. I mean, Arthur walked off by his own to talk to Harley that time. And I think
Hmm.
this kid's pretty unpredictable. I don't think
Yeah.
I think I didn't think so. I think this kid has just become the Joker.
Yeah.
And the people who the Joker, they want to be the Joker,
Hmm.
and he did it. That's what
Yeah.
I think. I had never even thought about that.
Well, because the first time they're like, Arthur, you got a visitor, and the guy was so far ahead of him, and that hall
Yeah.
was empty of everything, and then he just hurry up, come on, and he like left. And then the dude showed up, and I was like, as soon as it happened, I was like, oh no, because it did a very good job too of that kid. Was it the laughing kid or the
Yeah.
smiling kid? I think I talked about him in my notes. They mentioned him in like the one of the very first like prison scenes where they're getting Arthur ready when they were shaving him. They talked about him. They're like, yeah, kid won't stop laughing all the time, blah blah blah, and he just shows up in little bits throughout the movie to the fact where he's not like he doesn't draw too much attention. He's there when you see him, you're like, oh, what's with that kid? And then as the movie goes on, it just slowly gives more and more. Like they'll get like the camera will get closer, and that next time he shows up, or he'll have like a couple more seconds on screen. And I noticed that a whole lot more the second time through that they mentioned him a lot, whether that was intentional foreshadowing or not. I was like, okay, that was pretty kind of a smart, interesting thing. But yeah, the first time I watched it, I totally thought they set him up to get taken out. And the second time I was just like, oh, maybe that guard was just in a hurry and didn't give a shit anymore. Like I don't know, but since I had that back and forth, I was wondering if anyone else thought if he got set up or it
I,
just was prison shenanigans.
I just saw the kid and went, "Oh, he's dead." That's I never thought about the motives of the guards. I did
Yeah.
think it's interesting how Todd Phillips talked about Brendan Gleeson's character kind of being a performer because he keeps singing when the Saints go marching in, and he
Hmm.
sings other songs, and he takes them to the music
The
class.
only reason he went to music class is because he wanted to go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he wanted to sing, and I thought that was
Yeah.
he's kind of
And
jealous
he
of
was like, oh,
Oscar.
I can't sing that. I don't know. I don't know. I can't possibly. Okay, I'll sing.
Well, here we go. Set it up, baby. Ding, 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 ding. You like busts out a harmonica.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a. I hadn't thought about that. And I have another question for you. Do you think the TV movie is good or bad?
I think it is hilarious. I don't know. Everyone said it's horrible. I think it's split. If you are one of the fanatics, is the best thing ever. If you
Oh
think
yeah.
Joker's a sicko, then it was horrible. I do think one moment that I thought was very funny was, and it showed just how manipulative Harley was and like had him hook, line, and sinker for things is that she kept saying like, "Oh no, it was great, it was wonderful, it was a good movie. You don't need to." And as soon as Zazie Beetz was on the stand and she was like, "That horrible movie,"
Yeah.
and he eventually turns around, he's like, "What?" And she's like,
That was really
basically just
funny.
waves
Yeah.
off like, "No, it was good." And he's like, "Oh, okay." It was just like at that point in the movie, all he needed was her approval or her word or whatever she could give him, and it this time around. It was interesting to see her switch tactics kind of on the fly or delve into like and it said she has her master's in psychiatry, all that stuff, grad student. She knew exactly how he thought, what he needed, what she needed to do to lure him into this or be a part of this world. And the thing that I thought was interesting, or the moment that I was just like, "Ooh, that's good," is when Catherine Keener told him like, oh, she was rich and lives with her parents and other stuff happened, and he had that scene and felt that betrayal. And then when she went to visit him, he asked her about it, and she just started to like, yeah, I lied and doing all stuff and went up with it. And he still had that questioning stuff. As soon as she started to like try to sing to him, if you look at like every other time she sang, from when she first met him to when they were escaping, when she like was in reality and sang, there was emotion on her face and she was into it and doing all this stuff. At that moment when she was singing, she had nothing. She was dead face and she was just like watching him to see if it would take effect. And then once she saw him kind of start singing back, that's when she started to get up and dance and get into it. And I was like, ooh, it was just a little thing, and I
Oh,
don't
she
know if it was
plays
intentional or
him.
not, but that was man,
She even
I
says, "I
wanted to
just
reach
wanted
through
you
and
to
punch her.
like me." Remember, she's like, "I just wanted you to like me,"
Yeah.
and then
Yep.
she's like, "Everybody lies a little," but she plays it off as she hook, line, and sinkers this poor guy,
Oh yeah.
and she goes up to him. She's like, "You need to stop taking your pills." That's she just yeah she and what's interesting, the first time he meets her, when he goes back to take his pills, when he stands in front of the glass, it looks like the makeup's back on his face. So
Hmm.
at that moment, that's when the Joker awakens
Yeah.
again. When
There
she
were a
does,
lot of really fun shots in this movie.
oh
The
yeah, yeah,
the first one when he's walking through and it was raining and there were the multicolor umbrellas that were all around him, and but before and after that shot they're all black. Like all the umbrellas are black except for that one shot when
yeah.
he looks up and maybe there's just that hint of the Joker still in there or whatever that thinks he needs it, and then they're all colorful and then it goes right back to black at the end of that. Or the when they're having that meeting through the glass and she puts the smile and he just kind of like sits up into it. Like there were just a lot of really fun shots that they did,
No,
that
I
I
totally
enjoyed the
agree.
whole
And
thing.
the overhead shot with the umbrellas, and I mean, it looks great. And listen, the DP on this film, I have his name pulled up right here. Here it comes. 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 Lawrence Sher, like he's shot some beautiful films before. I mean, the guy has been nominated for an Oscar. He shot Joker. He shot Garden State. He also shot Black Adam, but whatever, we can get over that.
And yeah, we don't need to talk
But I
about
mean,
that movie.
he's done some huge. I mean, he made the movie look really good, and he knows how
Hmm.
to do it. And so I think technically speaking, the wardrobe's good, the acting is all committed,
Mhm.
literally, because people are committed. But it's just there's so many elements in this film. The first one is very focused on Arthur. This one you have the interview with Coogan. You have, let's see, you have Catherine Keener, you have the guards, you have his little buddy who gets killed. You bring
Mhm.
back Puddles, you bring back Zazie Beetz, you have the scene with the psychiatrist, you
You have
have,
You have Harvey Dent.
yeah, Harvey Dent. Like you have the judge, you have the new Jokers, you have the explosion, you just in a, it's just it's not as focused this time around. And you know what kind of bothers me? He Todd Phillips said he wants this movie to feel like crazy people made it. I feel like a crazy person made Gods of Egypt. Right? I watched that movie and I'm like, what are you doing? Uh, I don't think crazy people made this film. I
Yeah,
think
it was intentional, right?
yeah,
Like a crazy
exactly.
people, you
So
just be like, what? It would be all over the place without any sort of vestige of being able to link it together. Why did this happen? Why is Plan 9 from Outer Space could be crazy people made this movie. That movie's just
you just
so.
like I watched
But
Larry Crown and I'm like, you guys are crazy. You have no idea what this world's like. But I watched this
yeah,
one and because listen, all they do, there's even the psychiatrist brings up the shadow person. In the beginning, there's an entire thing about the shadow self. Like
hmm
this movie repeats everything. And I think if it was made by crazy people, it would be like Mother. You know what I mean? It would be a
yeah,
crazy film that doesn't hand you everything on a platter. So it's weird watching him talk about making this kind of nihilistic piece of film that, but it still explains everything.
yeah.
Um, but that doesn't mean I hate it, right? I never felt scorn for this movie. It just made me sleepy.
Yeah, and I'm never gonna like rag on people like I'm not gonna turn into a Snyder first, but you didn't like Justice League, why did you do it? You didn't like the Joker. I was like, okay, not for everyone. And it's the same thing, like, if you go into a movie expecting one thing and it completely, hard left turns you, it's gonna leave a bad taste right away. You may get sleepy, you may want to leave. I remember people going to see Sweeney Todd, that just, oh, trailer and Johnny Depp sings and this is going to be a fun movie. Within 5 minutes,
Yeah,
I
it's
saw so many
really
people walk
bloody.
out of that theater.
Yeah.
And it, or like same thing with like Deadpool. Oh, it's a fun Marvel movie, and it's like you have to know what you're getting into, whether you look into what it actually is, if it's based on a comic, if it's based on a musical, a Broadway musical, and there are certain things in it that maybe you don't want yourself or young people to see going into it. But yeah, it's I absolutely recognize that is not for everyone. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. Some people hate it when people sing anything in a movie and they're like, I'm out. But I thought, again, I was just so shocked. I was like, I really kind of enjoyed this. And for me, it looked like, again, a character study for Arthur, of just like how he coped with things. And the other thing that made me enjoy it, that I think I told you, and I was like, hey, we should do an episode about this, is my wife told me something or reminded me about something that I learned when I was in college and I was doing my theater major. And I was just like, holy crap, this fits 100% for this, for Arthur's fantasies and all this stuff. And it was, if something is too powerful to say or speak, then you sing. If something is too powerful to where you can't walk or run, you dance. And I was just like, that kind of fits Arthur. He has trouble coping with things. He can't process stuff. And so, and even in that first interview that he had at the very beginning, when Catherine Keener showed up and they had that woman there that was interviewing him, and she was like, what do you remember about about Murray, that about that show and all this stuff? What do you remember about that evening?
The
And the only thing he said
music.
was the music.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I was like, okay. I was like, all right. I so that in combination with the, if it's too powerful to say, you sing. If it's too powerful to move, you dance. Is like that. Okay, I'm in this. I'm in it for the ride, whatever it is. And I ended up really enjoying it.
I think I would have liked it.
Shocking to say.
I think I would have liked it more had they not been like, oh, music makes us whole and it balances conflicting forces within ourselves.
I
And
caught that the second time through, and I was like, well, that's kind of on
yeah,
the nose with everything.
and then also they're like, I'm sick of these artificial barriers between the musical and the drama. That's what they say during the movie. And it's I can't be who you I think everything is mentioned. This is a fantasy, but it's not a fantasy. And it would have been fun to just watch that because,
without it
but
being spelled out.
exactly. But I also
Yeah.
think, I mean, listen, I walked out of Joker. Some people walked out of Joker like wearing Joker masks on riots. Like around the world, people like painted their faces like Arthur Fleck during protests. That's not the right thing to learn from this film. And I think Todd Phillips saw that. And listen, you know what's interesting? Sometimes when people make movies, like I love 500 Days of Summer, but there are people out there that think Summer's the villain in the movie. It's like, no, guys, she is not. Like you should. It would be interesting to make a movie where they get at it again, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt's just a complete asshole in it. You know what I mean? Or they have a conversation like, we're both to blame here. Uh,
Yeah.
and so people read it wrong, and I think he didn't want anybody reading this one wrong. And you know that's fair.
So much so that he didn't know how to read it himself.
Exactly. But everything is explained. It's the shadow. I'm not with you. That was a fantasy. And the thing is, like like I said, I understood the first one, so then this one was more the same. Paul Schrader said something great. He said, you know, this guy, the director of First Reformed, he wrote Taxi Driver. He said, I saw about 10 or 15 minutes of it. And he's like, I left, bought something, came back, saw another 10 minutes, and I thought that's enough. And it's haterish, but this movie really, you could pop in and out of this movie and get a vibe for it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just dump on Arthur.
Yeah. What happened? Yeah, you come back in. What happened? Oh, they shit on him more. Oh, okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
I'll be
cool.
back.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I'll be right
But
back.
how he got slapped in the face? Okay, cool.
And also too, you know, one thing I try is I really look at movies in context. What is this movie? Who is making this movie? Why are they making this movie? And so when I go into a film, I also know that trailers are marketing tools. Trailers are
Hmm.
meant, you know, when I see a pillow, no, when I see a shoe that says most comfortable shoe ever and I put it on, I don't go, this isn't the most comfortable shoe ever. I'm like, that's just a marketing technique and it might be kind of
Yeah.
comfy. And I think sometimes people they never learn that lesson, especially with horror. Like if I made a horror movie, I would just give someone 40 shots of vodka and just have them puke in the theater, and then just be like, "Someone puked in my theater," and I wouldn't tell them why, and then be like, "Oh man, you go watch this movie, you'll puke." And so, and then people go watch it, like, I didn't puke in this movie, but it's the scariest movie ever made. No, it's not. But when I see that, it's just marketing. It's a
Yeah.
critic, you know, sometimes it's critics who just want to get on a poster. And so for me, I don't go into movies with massive expectations. I go into a movie with thinking about things in context. And I do like it when people subvert tropes. I love the movie Barbarian. I love when tropes are successfully subverted. But
Or when the
that doesn't,
movie, or when the movie switches up into a different movie midway through. When Justin Long shows up,
yeah,
you're like, "Is this the right same film?" What
I
the?
was thrilled. It made me so happy because it was just so audacious.
Yeah.
And this one subverts it, but I just think, you know, Barbarian had a very strong sense of self. I don't think this movie did. But I still, like you said, I like the idea of the songs. I like that Arthur is a romantic and and Lee just wants power. When you hear their singing, she's singing about, yeah, we're gonna build mountains, and he's like, I just love you. Like,
Hmm.
hey girl, like let's go to a cabin, and I'll just it's gonna be like the shortest relationship ever. But I like that, and I like the ideas, and so there's only so many ways of saying it's a Monte Cristo, but I just think
Say it one more time.
I, I I just don't like it when people went and watch this and they're like, it's terrible because it's not what I wanted. And then people are like, yeah, in 10 years it'll be reappraised. It's like everything's reappraised in 10 years. You know, I've had food poisoning from food, and then I got food poisoning from fast food once. And now I look back at the restaurant, I'm like, I'd eat there again. So it's of course you're I was like, I'm never going there again. And I think I did. So I
Yeah.
think you have, you know, years do change your perspective. But I just don't think that this movie will be one that 10 years down the line, people go, wait, this movie's good.
I don't think it's going to become a cult classic just because it was different or anything going on. I think it'd be interesting to see what changes that perspective on it if it does switch up, because the first Joker was so much, you know, again, Arthur's getting shit on and he takes it into his own hands, and everyone's expecting more of that
Falling
kind of
down and
violence or something, yeah, or something going through again where he was in jail and all that stuff and he finds her and then she, you know, they escape or they bust out or there's this, like, it's funny, it kind of goes into this thing where there's you know, people put Harley and Joker about like their relationship on a pedestal, and certain times they're like, oh, they just love each other so much, and it's like, no, 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 that's not love. But I think people wanted to see that version of what they considered love to be, and them just like causing anarchy together where they found each other to cause it, and it absolutely wasn't this thing, especially by the end when Arthur showed that he was Arthur and that he actually had a conscience and he cared about Puddles. Like at the very end of it, like when he was talking about, what did Puddles say? It was near the very
you
end
were
of
nice to me. You were good to me.
that was part of, yeah, you were the only one that didn't make fun of me, and how much that hit. And oh god, there was oh god, what he's like, don't do this, it isn't you.
Oh
And it
yeah.
and that hit him, especially when he was putting on the you know, fake southern accent, which again, the first time I watched it I was just like, what is he doing? But then now,
Yeah, he's
like
not good
that
at being
second time
Joker.
going, I was just like, he's trying. He's trying to be what people want him to be, even though he himself knows that's not him. And I think it's so interesting that if Catherine Keener would have kept that her position as his attorney, he probably would have gotten off.
Yeah.
They had a really good defense set up, and especially as things are going on and as he realizes himself that that's not him, like they could have very well done the he blacked out, this was a fit of rage and whatever, and he's really not this person, wouldn't hurt a fly, but he ruined it because Harley manipulated the hell out of him, you know.
Yeah. And listen, this guy was brought back to his family. He was abused. His mom was horrifying.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, remember in the first one, everything that can go bad, he gets bullied by people, he gets beat up by people, his coworkers are
Mm-hmm.
terrible, he has a laughing condition, people are scared of him, the hospital turns him down. It's it's yeah, yeah. And it's just a sad event that happened. And I am telling you, man, like I think after falling down and, you know, Death Wish with Bronson, where he's this avenging angel, he's just
Mm-hmm.
slaughtering everybody, and you're like, yeah, because you know, he killed the people who killed his kids, but now he's just killing more people. Like,
Yeah.
but you know what? He's righteous. So I think he really wanted to avoid that this time. He didn't want anybody getting that vibe. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what? As much as people love the first Joker, I've watched Taxi Driver and I've watched The King of Comedy, and those are that's that movie. It's different, but it's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't too hot on it because it was just a glorified remake or reboot that was shot very well.
Mm-hmm.
So at least this one tried something different. So I like that. But I think sometimes you can't always give people credit for trying. So like, if I'm playing baseball and I bring a pencil as a bat, like I'm trying something different, but it's not going to
Yeah.
worbut
Well, and that's why, like,
depends on
and
the pen.
again,
Don't be like a big pencil.
yeah, this is how you use it. No, it's but no, I appreciate too when someone takes something and tries to make it their own. They go off the beaten path, and especially with something as well known as Joker, that you know they did something different. He wasn't a criminal. He was this dude that had some bad problems going through, which is why, like in comics, like you know the what if stories or the multiverse stuff or the amalgam books, or now with DC they have the Absolute series, which are off the wall and like absolute Wonder Man, absolute Batman, absolute Superman for any comic people listening to this. If you haven't read those books or checked them out, they are bonkers in the best way. They take all of the origin of these characters and totally curveball it. It's awesome. I can't get enough of it. But again, it has to be executed the right way so that it makes sense. Like again, if that one thing, like if I had that motivation for Harley going into it, it may have made the movie a whole lot better for me. And here's a question for, since we're on Harley, do you think it would have had a much more drastic effect or changed the movie or the ending if she had actually shot herself?
If she killed herself,
Yeah. Because I mean, she would have left that unanswered thing from Arthur about it was all a fantasy, blah, blah, blah. And he would have had that extra guilt for himself, thinking that he caused her to do that. Could have been a whole different ending of that movie.
this whole movie's meant to crap on him. So if she just says, if she's like, listen, yo, she literally says to him, where's the line at? She says, I have the line. Let me find it. we're not going away, Arthur. All we had was a fantasy, and you
And you
gave
gave it
up.
away. Yeah, you gave up.
So that's worse than any. If she shot herself, you'd be like, "Oh, I did it." But instead, he just has to shortly live the rest of his life knowing that she just went, "Nah, you ain't it." Like,
She's just not that into you.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's out of your league. But
There you go.
I think that's worse because
Yeah.
that and this whole movie's meant to do that to him. Gary Puddles is like, yo, dude, you lost me. You were the one person I liked. That's gone. Zazie
Mhm.
Beetz showed him compassion. And then she said, no, this dude, I could have saved lives if I turned him in.
Mhm.
Everybody that was nice to him in this film, they all go, no. Uh-uh. And so he kicked his lawyer out. He pissed off the guards. He got one of his friends killed.
Mhm.
I think the whole thing was just, and then at the end he gets stabbed by the real Joker. It's a, I don't know. I think that's just that's life for him.
Yeah.
That's what all people say. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I think so. I don't think that would have been better. I think the fact that she just said, "Nah, we're
I mean,
good."
I agree with you saying that hurts him more because he could still have that fantasy living in his head of what could have been. She really did love me, all that stuff.
Exactly.
And then there was the, nah, just kidding.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
at that, he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, she loved me, and I let her down, but I had a love." This one's going, "Nah, I just liked you when you shot that dude."
It would have been the equivalent of if Michael Caine had given Christian Bale the letter from Katie Holmes, or not Katie Holmes, the reboot cool Katie Holmes, Maggie
Oh yeah,
Gyllenhaal in the Dark Knight.
yeah, exactly.
We're gonna run away together, Alfred. Actually, so you may want to read this letter. It was
Oh,
carefully given to you prior to her untimely death.
it could have just, yeah, we were gonna leave. Oh, but uh, that's yeah. I like that she just left. She's a rich kid. She's gonna go out somewhere. And I
Yeah.
also I like when she confronted Catherine Keener in front of the press and made a big scene
Oh
about it.
yeah.
Everything she did was pretty great. The problem is you just don't know anything about her. She's very much a cipher,
Hmm.
which I don't know if that helps the character.
Well, and
So
were they relying on people's like it's one good thing to rely on people's knowledge of a character before going into a movie. I mean, I know that I think in going back to Fantastic Four, they're not going to do a big origin thing. They'll probably touch base on it because people know who the Fantastic Four is for the most part. Or then if they next time they do a reboot of a Spider-Man movie or whatever, they don't have to do Aunt May every single time. They don't have to do Uncle Ben dying every single time. Like
yeah,
people
save
know
Ben.
by now. Yeah, exactly. Like X-Men. You don't have to put Magneto in it. Like it's gonna be, we get it. We get it. And even with a quick Google search, you can find these things out. So I don't know. Do you think they were relying on prior knowledge of just the relationship of Harley and Joker to make it okay that they didn't have to dive into it too much?
No, that's a really good point. I just think know something about her as opposed to just dialogue. So we're told who she is. That's
Mm-hmm.
never good for a character. Everything that happens with her is telling or showing. Like there's no showing. They're just telling us everything.
Yeah.
So it's she shows up fashionably late to make a scene and she manipulates him. It would have been fun to just have more time. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Gaga's awesome, and there's a lot of stuff from the trailer that didn't make it in the movie. So who knows what else is out there?
Yeah. Good point. We need the Snyder cut of Folie Do.
I guess the main thing I wanted to do with this episode is just say, you don't have to like it because your expectations was subverted, and then you don't have to like it because everyone else hated it. But then on the
Mm-hmm.
flip side, you don't have to hate it because it wasn't what you wanted it to be. I
Yeah.
think it's, but I do, it's a $200 million movie, which I'm fine with, and I do think that Todd Phillips was playing with house money, but he earned it because Joker made $1 billion.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting film that I don't think will be good for directors down the line because I know that Phillips did not want to work with DC Studios, James Gunn, and all of them. He made this independent, and I think of their studio. Not this is an independent film, but he
Yeah.
made it on his own. But I think in the future, when people are making $200 million movies, they might want to get involved.
If it's based on prior things. Yeah, I mean, it's good. if it gives you more freedom, like, and again, this is something that I like, those multiverse stories. It gives you more freedom to play in the sandbox, and I think that can do a lot of things. It can really surprise people or just go away from the norm. Anytime I'm at cons and I talk to artists or writers that worked on those books, like the What If stories or the Amalgam books, where they took Marvel and DC characters and just mashed them together. Like you had Iron Lantern and Dark Claw, which was, like Green Lantern meets Iron Man and Batman meets Wolverine. And it's a gimmicky, but it was really just fun. Every creator I talked to, and I was like, so was that just a paycheck, or was it like, do you actually have a good time? They're like, oh God, it was one of the funnest things I ever did. Because if you don't have all that additional continuity that you have to stick to and you're required to do ABC, you can't deviate, then it limits you to what you can kind of do, or the vision that you have. So I can see like not wanting to get involved in that and just be like, this is the story I'm trying to tell. This is the world that I created with the first one. I want to continue on with that, not have all this other people, all these no men,
Yeah.
saying I can't do stuff. Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. If there's $200 million going into something and there's already something based on that you could get some help with to ensure that it doesn't rub people the wrong way, or you don't get the fanboys, it's not the same as the blah blah, then yeah, that might be something to look into.
The main problem I have is I think he was aiming this at a very specific audience.
Mm.
And I think for the people who understood what the first movie was, felt very, yeah, I've seen this before. So I think there's a danger to making that kind of film. And I don't know. I have a question though. You're dungeon master for Dungeons and Dragons, correct?
Yes,
When you go into a campaign, you have a
I
pretty
always
good,
have a musical number in mind. Yes.
but you have a good idea what the campaign is, right? Like at its core, you know where you're starting.
So this is an interesting question that we could do a whole other episode on. So generally, yes, you want to have, how am I going to start? What are some things, like how am I going to progress a little bit, and what's the ultimate end? Like you need to have some, like with anything, whether it's a script for a movie, a comic book, a play, whatever, you need to have bullet points set up, but you need to have something that makes sense, that draws all these people together and sets them off together. And then at the end, what's the culmination for this thing they're trying to do? Even the best laid plans of all this stuff, though, especially in D&D, holy crap, you will deviate so much, and things that you thought had to happen get thrown out the window, and something maybe even better could show up. That's the thing that I love about that game, is it's yes, you're running the game, but it's collaborative
But
storytelling,
but at
you
its
know.
core, you understand the mission that it's
Oh
going
yeah.
on. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So that's what a good movie is. I think with this movie, he doesn't even know what it is. So that's my main complaint is when Virgin Suicide was made, Sofia Coppola knew it down to one word: loss. She knew the movie down to one word, and everyone rallied around that. And she made a very popular film for her directorial debut. This one, no one quite knows. Like Gaga's like, he made this, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, it's that. Like it's great because it's not traditional, but no one at its core really knew quite what it was.
Yeah,
People on set,
if everyone worked on it has a different answer, then
yeah,
that's not
the
that's not
guards
very
on set,
cohesive.
some of the guards were like, we didn't even know what we were making. So I think the best directors, even if you're making something outlandish, the cast, the crew know what it is. Like
Hmm.
they know. And I feel like a lot of people didn't quite know what this was. So that, I'm going back to this again. It's just really hard to do, to like find success when you don't quite know and your cast and crew don't know. Everyone just kind of thinks, oh, we're taking a big chance, we're playing with house money. But I don't think, people talk about that being a gambling attitude. I don't think that's a gambling attitude. I think trying to do something big, like, there's a certain swagger to like a huge bet. There's stupidity, but there's also a swagger. Like and I just don't think this movie had that swagger. I
Yeah.
guess there's no swagger to it, even though I love the idea of Harley. I love that Arthur collapses in her mind when he's not what she wanted. I
Hmm.
like the idea of the shadow self. It's good ideas. I just, if we think about Todd Phillips movies, though, Road Trip, dude goes to get laid. Hangover, three dudes get hungover, have to find a fourth dude. Hangover 2, same. Hangover 3, same. Due date, two dudes got to drive somewhere. Old School, a bunch of dudes go back to college.
And try to
because
get laid.
they try to get laid. So he's not the most subtle guy. And what's really interesting is there's a couple things I want to bring up too. He grew up with a single mom, and I think he had 5 or 6 sisters, which
Oh
is
wow.
really interesting. So he said that he was never around super macho guys. But then when you watch his films, they're very much so frat oriented.
Hmm.
So that's a really interesting dynamic. Also, when he was younger, he worked on a documentary with Gigi Allen. I don't know if you know who Gigi Allen is. He was
Mm-mm.
a punk musician who, would crap on stage, cut himself open. One of the most audacious performers who died young and was just an absolute menace. And so Todd Phillips was in the punk scene. He really knew Gigi Allen. He knew punk. That guy was a true punk. He was a horrible human, just the grossest shows you could think about. And that's who he made a documentary with. He lived in the Chateau Marmont, Todd Phillips, for 2 years and just kind of hung out and wrote and lived that life. And so I think he has this kind of he knows what punk is. And I think he was trying to kind of be punk rock with this movie, but he didn't poop in his hands and throw it at it's too safe, is what I'm saying. He doesn't cut himself open. He doesn't, I guess he did throw poop at the audience, but I just don't think it's a true punk move
Yeah.
from him. So if you're gonna do half measures, you feel that. So if you're not gonna go full in, then you might want to re-evaluate your script.
Hmm.
But here's the thing. I know what the only reason I talk to you is because I really understand why you like it. And I respect that. I do. And it's not like, oh, well, that's nice. Like I get it. Like they burst out in song. You were genuinely enthralled by this film. And that's like, I wouldn't have done it with somebody who only liked it because they're saying it's not that bad.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
why I
and
wanted to have
that's
this
that's the
conversation.
well, and I think that's why it's good to, like, we've done our share of like movies that we both love and ridiculous movies and going here and there, but it's good to go into something that there are mixed reviews on, right? Or
Mhm.
that there is the, okay, I see, like, yeah, I can see how someone absolutely would not like this because A, B, and C, but that's not to say, like you said, it doesn't have to be black and white, it doesn't have to be either or. There, and that's with any movie. There are some people that could absolutely loathe The Godfather or something that's like this cinematic masterpiece going into it, and that's fine, right? Like everyone has their own thing that they're into. The don't yuck somebody else's yum, as my buddy Chris always says. But yeah, was it the best movie? Absolutely not. Were there problems? 100%. But I think that for me, it was something different that was expected. Especially with the ending of Arthur being like, "No, thank you." He was actually a good person, which I was like, "Oh no, not the Joker. They can't have a conscience." But yeah, there were certain elements, like there are movies that I can't stand, but I'll still find some things. I was like, this is pretty cool. This, whether it's story oriented, whether it's costume oriented, whatever. And that's, for any medium is the whole thing. You could, not everyone has to agree, and there's always something for everyone's tastes.
You know what bothers me before we get out of here, and everything you said is absolutely true. And I think the hype coming off of the first one was never going to be met.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
Jurassic Park 2 comes out, people go, it's not as good as Jurassic Park 2. Nothing's as good as Jurassic Park. When
Yeah.
Jaws 2 came out, it's not as good as Jaws. Nothing's as good as Jaws. So
When Shanghai Nights came out, there's no way it's going
it's
to be
better
as
than
good as
Shang.
Shanghai Nights.
Like this is actually really good. But Joker hit the zeitgeist. They made $1 billion. That's not going
Yeah.
to happen again. And when you have a $200 million budget, presumably, and you are trying to, you're never going to capture lightning in a bottle twice.
Hmm.
So the same bottle twice.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if I don't know, who knows, maybe someone has, message me, but I think,
I mean, it could be said about anything,
and
like,
but like
Iron Man 2, or
not
like,
as good, and
yeah,
but like
it
Long
sucks.
Legs, right? Like so, Long Legs was a huge hit for Osgood Perkins last year. His new movie, there's a review. Well, it doesn't live up to the hype of Long Legs. Long
It's a
Legs,
different
yeah, and
movie.
Long Legs made 100 mil, and and very specifically, he stuck to Silence of the Lambs. If you think about it, Todd Phillips stuck to Scorsese, made $1 billion. Osgood Perkins based it kind of the themes on Silence of the Lambs, made over 100 million. You stick with that. The Monkey's not Silence of the Lambs. Like it's going to be a different experience.
Yeah.
So what people need to think about sometimes is I just hate when people go, well, it's not as good as the original. Yeah, but nothing's as good as the original. It's like, Nathan, you go out and you enter a jujitsu tournament, right? You roll,
Oh
and
God, never gonna happen. I'm
it's
not
a
made for a tournament.
it's a 16-person tournament.
Yeah.
You win all four matches and it combined like with an average win time of 30 seconds. Okay.
Well, now I know you're just making shit up.
The next tournament you enter, 16 people, you win it. And your combined average of victory is a minute and 13 seconds. Everyone's gonna go, oh, he sucks because he didn't do as good as last time.
He
No,
didn't live
that's
up to his potential.
I would be
Yeah.
like, that's insane, Nathan. A minute and
Yeah.
13 seconds. But because you whooped everybody before in 30 seconds on average,
Yeah.
people, there's going to be a difference. And so I hate that.
Yeah.
Even though both are really good, just because it's not as good as an all time jujitsu tournament,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah.
And I think this movie had a lot going against it as well as like Phillips not quite knowing what it is. I think that it building on the hype of that and having Gaga
Yeah.
and it in a lot of ways it was set up for failure.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I really do. The hype of the movie before, anytime you're interested, you're adding in new characters and ones that are well known in a relationship that again people idolize for the wrong reasons. Like, and then it's just like it was very high expectations right off the bat, even just announcing a sequel and then saying who was going to be in it and then delivering this. And it wasn't what people were expecting or absolutely what a lot of people didn't want. Kind of the same thing that we keep coming back to. It doesn't make it a bad movie. It's not necessarily a good movie, but it's all in the eye of the beholder. I thought it was going to be garbage, and here I am defending it and being like, I really enjoyed like all these different things, and even on a multiple watch, knowing like with the expectation away and knowing what's coming, you could look at different things coming through and notice this or notice that, or find out what the musical scenes actually meant if you just like were raging on it the first time. So yeah, it's for people that did watch it once and we're just like, oh, hot garbage, try it again. You know what you're going to expect. See if there's something you're like, oh man, you know what? This was actually good. Have a couple, make a drinking game out of it, at least laugh at it. I don't know.
Every time he tilts his head back
Every time there's
or
a
smokes a
slow
cigarette.
exhale of a cigarette where he's just, if he bows, um, anytime you see Joaquin's shirtless body and you're like, you take a drink. That was the first thing that hit me in this movie too. Like after the credits went, because it'd been so long since I've seen the first Joker, you just forgot how just like decimated he looks when he loses all that weight. I was like, oh man, it threw me for a loop again.
He's
Oh
just
man.
yeah, I was like, just come on, Joaquin. You're getting old, man. Losing that weight's not fun anymore. And he said it. He's like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad we had this conversation. I really am.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I I I don't think I appreciate this movie more than the first time I saw it, but I just really wanted to have a mature conversation about it. I do
Yeah.
because I just and I think we did. This is probably our most lucid conversation we've had.
Yeah, and I think it's the one that we've had the most where I really didn't like this. I really appreciated it. And I think that piqued your interest because again, you want especially in this when there are differing viewpoints, you don't want to argue about it. You don't want to you were right, I was wrong conversation. You're just it's my mantra for the last 3 years has been be an adult in any situation, whether you're at your job, whether you're working a con or attending a con or whatever it is, just like it covers so many things. Be an adult, hold yourself accountable, do this thing. And especially in a conversation like this, I didn't like it. Well, I did like it. Be an adult, talk about it civilly,
Yeah.
you know, say why, and, just look at the other person's perspective.
And the worst thing in the world to me is arguing with somebody about imagine you like Joker. Why? I would just walk away. Or
Yeah.
those things like prove me wrong. No. Sounds exhausting. Your
Yeah.
latitudes of rejection are so high. So
Yeah. You are set in your ways in your mind. I am set in my ways in mind. If we're going to talk about it, we're not going to get anywhere. We're just going to argue and butt heads. It's taking, a trout and slapping into the brick wall, expecting to make a hole. It's not going to happen.
what about a frozen trout?
Uh, how big is the trout?
What
How
about
thick's the
Mike
wall?
Trout, the baseball player?
Mike Trout. I don't know how big is the frozen trout that Mike Trout has hitting a wall made of trout.
So is it a wall of trout or frozen wall of trout? Because he could run right through a wall of trout.
I mean, it's got to be a frozen wall trout. Now, are they intact trout or are they like, is it like corrugated cardboard where like you dice it up and put? What are we doing
I
now?
feel like it would be easier to
What are we
break.
doing?
I feel like it would be easier to break through a wall of whole trout.
We had to end the discussion of a ridiculous movie by getting into a ridiculous scenario about trout and baseball players and seeing if they can put holes into things.
Seriously, would you rather run through a wall of whole trout or diced trout?
Whole trout.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad we came to that decision together.
All right, Nathan. Thank you, man. Thanks for joining me, brother.
Oh, absolutely. No, this was a fun one just to yeah, hit it back and forth and figure things out. Again, for those that, make up your own mind about the movie. I've never seen it because people said it sucked. Okay, did you listen to this? Did we make some good points? Go watch it. Figure out for yourself. You may find some things you're like, "Oh, interesting, cool." Or you may come out of it and say, "You know what? That did suck." And that's okay too. You're rolling the dice on every movie you watch, every podcast you listen to, every comic you read. So be an adult, make your own decision, watch the movie.
I always like it when I hate them. I always like it when I dislike a film because instead of saying it sucks, I go, why didn't I like it? So then I go
Yeah.
research it and then I try to understand it and go, okay, that's why.
Hmm.
Like I like that. I don't people some one of my most one of the things I hate most about what people think about me is I love every movie, and that's so far from true. And Nathan, I worked on like 150 sets. I teach
Yeah.
film. Like I don't I look at them in context, so I don't walk out of them and go that sucks.
You
I don't
find things that you appreciate, even if it's something that you don't like. You could read a book and be like, that was the biggest 1,000-page time waste, but the magic system in it was cool. Like,
exactly.
it's find the thing that you enjoy about it and be like, oh, I appreciated that, didn't like this, and move on. You don't have to be its advocate or its, the arbor of its doom just by coming through and being a pariah against it or something. Just like you don't have to hate everything. You don't have to like everything. You could love a movie and hate an actor in it.
And listen, we're busy. I don't have time to spend. I don't have time to spend
We
time
got
on things I.
kids. We're getting
Yeah,
older. We got
I
jobs.
don't have
Yeah, we're
time to
not.
spend time on things I don't like. So yeah, but I wanted to explore this. I'm glad we did. So thanks
Yeah,
for
me
joining me,
too.
Nathan.
Thank you for being open to it when I enjoyed a movie that you're like, really? And here we are. I'm interested to see what people think about points we've made, or if we just get, full comment sections of you guys are stupid, that movie's bullshit. Not hashtag not my Joker. We'll see how many times that comes up.
Who is your Joker?
And the answer is, say it with me,
Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill. There it is,
Yeah, yeah,
baby.
yeah.
Sorry. Now that's
Jared
something that
Leto.
everyone can agree on. You son of a bitch. Don't say it ever again.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me, Nathan. And where can people
Absolutely,
find you
man.
before we get out of here?
Oh God.
Right behind
I
you.
don't right. Oh God, all the time. You'll see me in your fantasies singing, in a red suit and some makeup. No, I'm on some socials. I'm not as active anymore because social media is crazy these days. Honorary GL, if you look for me on socials, I'm usually on there. Either running some Dungeons and Dragons games, either on Twitch or YouTube, or just being dumb on social media and showing pictures of my new bearded dragon, Ivan Drago. That's right, I'm dumb.
I love Ivan's the best. All right, man. Well,
He is wonderful. Sorry, we'll get we're trying to finish, but bearded
well,
dragons, hashtag bearded dragons.
thank you for joining me, man.
All right, take it easy, brother.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Nathan Lahey, this is Movie Sons of Flicks. We'll see you next week.